meets mind, we ponder, we dream.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's great to finally meet you because this is how we meet each other nowadays through Zoom, right? This is like an in-person meeting now. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization and what you're passionate about?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I spent a lot of my early career in the entertainment industry. Um, really,
Nice.
I've always had a passion for creating impact in the world,
You know,
and I
you
think
kind
the
of look
main
like an
focus,
entertainer. You kind of look like
yeah,
a bit of a rock star look about you. So, I mean,
my dad is a legit rock star. He's actually in the Rock
really?
and Roll Hall of Fame. Just a little interesting piece of trivia. He was a founder and drummer for a band called Chicago, which you probably remember.
Oh, I
Uh,
totally remember Chicago. Come on.
Yeah, so he was one of the original members of Chicago, and is still an amazing drummer, still playing at age 76, which
Wow.
impresses me every day.
That's
But
fantastic. I
so
love
I
it.
grew up around the entertainment industry, but I didn't go into music. I although I have done some stuff on the video production side of the music world, did worked on helped to produce a music video for Lady Gaga that we shot at Hearst Castle, which was pretty awesome.
Nice.
So I've done a lot of different things in the entertainment industry, but my main passion, my core passion, is really around creating impact in the world and about
Mm,
empowering an evolutionary leap for humanity. And I think there's two main areas that I'm focused on right now. One is the stories that we tell that change the way that humans think and change the world that we're all creating or co-creating together. And then on the second front, which is obviously more of the focus of this conversation, is around technology and
mm,
building technology that actually transforms the world that we live in, the processes, the systems, that around financial empowerment, around AI governance, around some of these really bleeding edge things that we're that humanity is racing towards, that we're at the same time as we are. It's like, how do we build intentionally, consciously, technology and software and products and systems, that empower that evolutionary leap, that keep humans, very much, human agency very much a part of the wheel, so to
mm.
speak. So yeah, I mean, so Rainmaker's the technology company I founded back in 2018. There's when I a little after I came into the blockchain space, which was 2017, right around the ICO boom, and immediately went down the rabbit hole and saw the potential for the technology to power what I call a solution revolution, which is the idea of a decentralized movement of humans all over the world solving major global issues,
Mm.
with blockchain being this global, frictionless economic layer that can be used to change, really fundamentally how value is created and how it's distributed. So once I saw that picture, it was like you can't unsee it. And I went down the rabbit hole. And I still have a media company and do some stuff in the entertainment world, but vast majority of my focus really, went full in on, technology. So we created Rainmaker, pivoted like many, startups. We pivoted 100 times. A few years ago, we pivoted naturally towards a couple of things. One, building a protocol, the Rainmaker network protocol, and two, like starting to focus a lot on this mergence, or this convergence of AI and Web3, and this idea that between them there feels like there is this perfect synergy, where like without one, one or the other, there's powerful, but when you put them together, I think in the right way, the potential for what they can do is completely transformational for the human race. And so yeah, so that's what we've been working on with Rainmaker. And we launched our network itself. The protocol we launched in mainnet in late June, had significant traction with that, which has been amazing, and it's been a fun ride. You build in technology for years, and I'm sure you've seen this before, Chris. You build for years, and it's like almost like sailing in the water, and there's no wind, and it's
Yeah,
like you're
yeah,
just
yeah.
paddling the boat, and all of a sudden you don't know when it's going to happen, or sometimes your boat just gets pointed the right way, and the wind comes and it just carries you. All of a sudden things move, right, and they move
Yeah.
fast. So it's been fun to experience that a couple times, and we're in another one of those moments now, being in, I think, a really nice pocket in terms of that sweet spot of that mesh point between AI and Web3. So that's a
Right.
little bit about me and the company.
Wow, that's fantastic. I love everything that you're doing. So tell me a little bit about like what drove you to make that final pivot into the space that you're in. I mean, were you just basically seeing what was going on in the world and going, there's got to be a better way, or what was it that drove you to that?
I mean, there's a few things. There's always a confluence of different things
Hmm.
that come together around a pivot. And sometimes, again, even inside of that, there's micro pivots that we're still making, even
Sure.
brand positioning, product positioning,
You never stop. You never
product
stop
features.
pivoting.
No, you don't. And it's literally like, I always joke, I'm like a pivot master at this point. You're just kind of like pivot, pivot, pivot. But no, but at some
Should
point
change the
you
company's
actually,
name to Pivot. I think there's actually a company out there called
I'm
Pivot.
sure there's a lot of tech companies called pivot, but I think that what happens is eventually, like when you see your line, and everybody, that's different for everybody. And I think that we've come to a place where we really see our line. And honestly, like it's only in like the last, I would say 6 weeks. It's crazy.
Mm,
Like we've been building with it, between AI and our protocol and working on that for 2, 3 years now. And it's really in the last 6 weeks that I've really felt like the vision of what we originally were focused on, which is like, how do we quantify the value of each human's contribution to training AI? And
mm.
if you ask that question, it's a big question, right? Because, your data, my data, everybody's
It's
data
almost
is being,
impossible to ansor. It's almost impossible to answer.
I know, and I seem to like impossible questions because I'm like, I want to answer that question, and it's like, well, you got to basically like, you got to violate the laws of thermodynamics and rewrite quantum physics, and then
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
build, then you
No
can launch a
big.
product that makes money. But I think, when you start thinking about that, it took us down a very specific road that, again, was like, it isn't actually, what's interesting is that it's kind of a full circle thing. When we started Rainmaker in 2018, just to flash back in terms of the pivot,
Hmm.
the core like kind of thesis, or like almost like our position that we came to, that was mainly based on our own passion, was like each human has inherent value in the digital world. Our
Absolutely.
interactions, which is that data, right, that's now being used and is going to be increasingly used to train AI, that data, the data of, Chris and I interacting, you interacting with your other friend, and me interacting with my other friend, uh, that data is actually what, in the digital world, has real value. And
Hmm.
obviously, legacy, tech companies, the Metas and the Googles and whatever, they've built empires on the value of those interactions. Which again, I
Exactly.
don't, I
They get
don't
us
come
to
from a place
create
where like,
they get us to create the data for free, and then they sell it.
well, yeah, but we get
We're
products to
the
use that.
products.
Yeah, we get the products to use that transform our lives and allow us to,
Yeah,
that give us the tools to do things that, as individuals and businesses, we're able to do stuff riding on the back of that. Now, again, is there some point where that, the value of like what we're giving up versus what we're getting, like we may have crossed a, that kind of that mesh point where
yeah,
it
that's
became one sided.
debatable.
Yeah, but it's hard to say. And again, as a founder and somebody who's, eventually, like at one point, Jeff Bezos was, working in a crappy little office, and, Jobs was working in a garage in Silicon
Yeah,
Valley,
I
right? So
love
it's
that.
like,
I love that picture of Bezos at the desk, with the Amazon banner at the back. You must have seen that, right? I'm
yes,
like, this
yeah.
is 20 years ago, and look at him today.
But I think there's something to be said for, nobody sees you when you're down in the valleys, right? Nobody sees you when you're staring failure in the face for the 17th time. You've been rejected, 5 times in a row. It's like nobody
Yeah,
saw when Bezos or Jobs or those guys had to face that. Now, maybe they faced it more or less than, other folks. I don't want to debate that. But the point is, that's why I have a little bit of a nuanced stance where I'm not like, oh, evil big tech. It's like, is there things they're doing that, again, from that I think that warrants a closer consideration, even from their side, to say
yeah,
ethically, like, how do we, now that we have all this power, what do we do with it? But it's
yeah.
hard because corporations in the United States are programmed to focus on their bottom line, especially when they become publicly traded. It
Exactly
changes the
right.
game. Like they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders and investors to continually drive growth and profits, right? And so at some point when that takes over, the individual founders instinct or passion to want to transform the world, while it still is in the DNA and somewhere in there, it definitely becomes, I think, a secondary force of influence to that profit motive, right?
Exactly
And
right.
so, but I think just to come back to what I was originally saying is like, so we were looking at that in 2018 and saying, how do we quantify that interaction and what it's worth? Because that's really in the digital world, like there's a tremendous amount of wealth, and now as as we've gotten deeper into blockchain, I've looked at that formalization of informal value.
Mm,
So you're a fan of this, you're in this community, you're, again, creating all this informal value that maybe there are certain companies that are leveraging that to some extent, or maybe they're not. I think there's a lot of it that's being wasted.
oh,
And
for
so I
sure.
think part of what blockchains, seek to do is to say, well, let's look to quantify that informal value in a way that's secure, that's immutable, that's transparent, that's fair. And I think when we come to AI, now we come to like, okay, there's, there's tremendous opportunity where these systems need data, quality data from real humans to really go to the next level. And so it's like, we're kind of interested in the piping of like, if you're going to take these humans and leverage their data, give the human back something, right?
Hmm.
And also empower them to be a co-creator in that AI. And I believe that, how do we ensure that there's not that Terminator 2 Skynet future? I think part of it is like, how do we imbue enough humanity into AI? And I
Right.
think that we're very interested in that relationship, between humans and AI, and increasing human agency, through the combination of AI and Web3 technologies. And that's where, when I crystallized, like, coming back to your original question, first thing was like my partner and I saying, training AI and an interest or focus on like, what is that quantifiable value? That's where we both felt like, okay, it aligned with a lot of the technology we had already built and what our protocol can do uniquely well relative to like other EVM chains. It's not an EVM chain. It's a custom consensus mechanism, federated hybrid blockchain architecture. Very
Hmm.
like different in terms of how we approached it. Than like, it's not like another Ethereum layer 2 copycat. And nothing wrong with those chains and those networks. They have certain utility in what they do. We're focused on something that's much more scalable and modular, and has more, I think, is more easily applied towards that problem of, how do you build a network that at scale in a global manner could look at billions of humans and their billions and trillions of interactions and data points that are feeding into these various models, and dynamically be able to weight, okay, what's the value of what Chris contributed over here or JD over there, and understanding like, that's not a static thing. It's not one to one, right?
Right.
Even whatever the model is versus what my data is or feedback is versus yours, those are going to be two different things. You need a network that can be able to, be flexible enough to do that at scale, but look at things like reputation, identity, behavior, data. Like, those are the things that our network has been uniquely focused on. And so we already had a lot of that, the ingredients, and then we were looking at the problem, like, or what we saw as an opportunity, I think maybe as much as a problem. We looked at it and we said, okay, we feel like our network can uniquely actually kind of fit in the chain in this particular spot. And so, yes, that's where we started just attacking. And as you're doing that, what that becomes just evolves organically.
So is your customer the actual end user creator, or are you looking to bring corporates into this?
Both. I mean, I think now we're at a place where we're engaging enterprises that are interested to, get that support that can only be provided through human feedback, or that human in the loop. And obviously, there's huge data labeling companies and AI training companies, more Web 2 focused scale AIs in the of the world, that are, these are massive companies now that are doing big
Yep.
business. So we're definitely interested to come in and partner with some of those companies, or work directly with the same enterprises they're working with a solution that we've built that, leverages certain aspects of that kind of more Web3 approach to accomplishing a similar thing at scale.
Hmm.
So it's kind of both. And when on the mobile, the mobile device side, or on the, at the application layer with like the Rainmaker app, there's over 100,000 plus downloads of that across the world. So that's US, Canada, but it's also tons of users in Africa, places like Nigeria, Turkey, Southeast Asia. And these are people that they can earn 50, $60 extra a month, $100 extra a month,
Wow. Very cool.
for work. Like, that actually means something to them, right? So I think that's where we've kind of got both sides of the marketplace that we're playing with, in terms of the protocol, to be able to facilitate the distribution of work, to those users that we have across the planet on smartphones, that are actually
So
doing the model training and the data labeling and whatnot.
So talk a little bit about how it actually works. So if I'm a user somewhere, I'm a layperson. I don't know anything. I'm a content creator. Maybe I do stuff on Instagram. Maybe I do TikTok videos or whatever. How would I use Rainmaker
Yeah.
to?
So we, yeah, and it's funny because you say social media, which was more of the focus with the company, like in 18, 19,
Yeah.
20. Um, a
Well, that's what
lot of the
everyone's
focus.
familiar with, right? I mean,
Yeah,
everyone knows TikTok. Everyone has
yeah.
an Instagram account. So if I were to come across Rainmaker, go, oh, this can help me. How would it help me?
So I think now the focus of what it would do is, anyone on the planet with a smartphone that's connected to the internet can now contribute to training AI models. So that's uploading images and labeling them with annotation, and that's being used to train stable diffusion models. We're even then also having them to train the stable diffusion models other users are generating art with. So
Mm.
that's like the first proof of concept of like, okay, how do we and then behind that, we're actually, grading the user's quality of labeling and training, which
Right.
now we're building out this AI reputation system that's essentially looking at, okay, Chris did a great job and labeled everything accurately. JD did a horrible job and missed half the things. Now we're not rated the same anymore. So as
Right.
enterprises start to come in the system and say, okay, I only want data labelers that have, a reputation score over X. We can even geofence that. That's, I think, where we're headed is having that decentralized, scalable global network of mobile device oriented, AI contributors
Hmm.
on the Rainmaker network that are doing that on their smartphone devices all over the world. So
So
that, again, go ahead.
does it work? So is it kind of like a mechanical Turk model where I go in and say,
Yes.
here are a number of things I need done. Like I need this labeled, I need this done, and then people can come in and pick a gig, or
Yep.
does the company pick the person, or is it
No,
all that?
people. Yeah, it's a combination of that, but it's more that we're serving up the work to the end users that qualify based on the parameters given by the enterprise, and it is very
Hmm.
much that mechanical Turk type type model. So you hit
Right.
the nail on the head there.
Right. And then, so if I and I'm assuming anybody can sign up for this. And then I'm assuming they go through some kind of training or some kind of vetting procedure to determine that they have the capability of doing what you need.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And what is the typical, like, what do people mostly ask for on here?
Well, I think there's data labeling, annotation, fine tuning models, basic human in the loop stuff that reinforce human learning feedback. There's
Right.
stuff that we're doing that's unique though. Like a lot of companies are running this in more of like a pyramid style, right? And almost like, I don't want to say sweatshop style, but like, there are some that are doing that kind of sweatshop style. Like here, we'll just throw 10,000 people in a warehouse in the Philippines or in some
Right.
far flung third world country and just have
Yeah.
a foreman that's
But
just
now with
cracking
your
the
app, they
whip.
could just do it on the fly instead of having to actually go out there and like put it all together.
They can do it anywhere in the world, and that's
Right.
that's part of what we're refining right now. And even there's I think some of the more proprietary sauce that I won't talk about, Chris, that we got to
No,
keep
please
under
don't.
the keep under our hat. But in terms of like our ability to do that at scale in a distributed manner, like that's where we have an advantage over, I believe, everyone out there. And again, it's not just about us and being like, I just want to make a bunch of money. It's also
Right.
about, I really want to empower people, right? And I think in order to do that, we have to engineer it in a certain manner where we come back to that dynamic of making money versus helping people or
Hmm.
empowering people. And I think there's a balance between the two that can be struck if one is actually conscious to strike it. And I think that's where big tech has kind of lost its way at certain times, and kind of uh lost the moral high ground. It used to be that like this idea that technology is going to change the world for the better was really central to, like, I feel like the entrepreneurial movement around startups and technology and
Hmm.
entrepreneurs, and I still think it's there very much alive in the DNA. But obviously the bigger tech companies, again, at a certain point, the sheer inertia and gravity of what they're doing like takes over, and it's no longer about Steve Jobs, or other people having a passion they want to do good. I'm not saying he did or didn't. I don't even want to opine on that. But I know that there are people that at some point were committed towards building a better world and probably still believe they are, but their companies have gotten to a place where they've gotten pretty far away from that in terms of that being a central value that
Oh yeah.
drives the decisions they're making.
So what's stopping you guys from getting to that point? Is it because of your distributed architecture, or like what is it from, like, once you guys get super popular and everybody's using you, like I'm assuming that you're what's baked into your model is to keep it at the distributed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, the nature of how we're doing it is so that the way that work is distributed and compensation is distributed is in essence decentralized more than
Mm.
other networks, but or other approaches. I don't think anything's stopping us, honestly, Chris. Like I really think it's really just a matter of, like I said, once you see the path, which I feel like we do clearly see the alignment, then it's just like blocking and tackling, right? It's
Right.
engineers building, shipping code, testing, business development going in and finding the right partners and enterprises that really have a need for that product, and then just scaling, right? So I think in the next, you know, I think you'll see us in the next like 2 to 4 months really like turn a corner around us taking that product fully to market. We've been focused a lot on the protocol for years now but to have that already gives us an advantage over, I would say most of the other projects that are even in a similar space, not just because we have a network, but because our network is, this custom federated, hybrid blockchain that can do really anything we want it to do at scale. And that's something that's, if you're doing an optimism powered like L2 rollup, or you're using one of those out of the box solutions to build, a protocol for a various, use case that's blockchain related, you're not going to be able to achieve what we'll be able to achieve because of the nature of how we built our network. And I feel like that gives us at our foundation a stronger foundation to kind of rest everything we're building on top of.
Yeah, no, I love what you're doing. I think it's really cool. And can you tell us a little bit more about how the infrastructure itself makes it different from other companies?
Yeah. So like I said, a federated hybrid blockchain. So there's both permissionless and permissioned layers on the network. The permissionless layer, the first layer of the network, we call the user action layer. So that's literally, Chris, on your own, say you download the Rainmaker app and you start generating art and labeling it and basically kind of playing the game we set up to build out that, refine that process. So, training essentially almost like our AI contributors, right? And as you're doing that, there's a cryptographic key pair that's on your device that without any technical knowledge whatsoever is signing on chain proof of your own actions.
Nice.
And so the first layer of the network is actually formed by users' own, cryptographic key with their decentralized digital identity. And they don't need you sign in, it feels like a Web2 flow. You create a username, password, but as you do that, there's a key pair that's generated that's doing all that on chain. Those user actions are rolled up in blocks and fed into what we call the enterprise application layer. So that's a permission layer. So imagine, one of the issues around AI models and data is obviously about privacy. So this is where we can have a private layer where that those type of interactions exist. That's also where smart contracts that are looking at all of those user actions and saying, okay, Chris made these contributions, score that, weight it. Now those computations on the smart contract layer and the enterprise application layer are passed up to what we call a network validation layer. So that's where finally validator nodes look at the work, they check it one last time, and they notarize proof onto a public chain. So they notarize proof on like Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, and Base, I think are the four main networks that we're alternating between. Obviously, everyone loves Bitcoin because it's the most secure. So like we can say, oh, we're leveraging the security of the Bitcoin network, which we are, while the network, our protocol itself can be super fast, super scalable. It can really be modular in terms of like customized applications, again, very much focused on, large numbers of humans contributing to, data and human feedback to all these models. So that's the way the network's architected. But again, that's, my CTO built Disney's private blockchain back in 2015. He's built a couple of protocols. And so when I approached him 3 years ago and was like, hey, I have a unique idea for a network that I'd like to build that's very much focused on, again, that core thesis. What is the value of each individual human, their reputation / behavior tied into their identity and data, and how do we tie that together at the protocol level in a way that's really scalable? I mean, these are big, like you said, big questions that we're asking and that we're looking to solve in a novel way, but then also build out products that at the individual level for like a Chris, or not you, because I bet you're super technical, but for somebody who's just a normal, but compared to most normal folks out there,
yeah, exactly.
You got to give them something that's as easy to use as Instagram or Facebook. They come in, they intuitively can figure out in a short time, oh, I'm in this and I'm doing it and I'm playing the game and I'm earning, even fractional compensation, as I'm going along. So I think we've always built products that when we get to that kind of layer where the users are touching it, we're striving to make it, grandma safe or whatever, as some companies say. Do we always succeed at that? No, I think there's always, sometimes there's imperfections in that process, but I think by and large, you'll find it's much easier to be used than most of the, kind of blockchain adjacent applications that are out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So it's time to think like a futurist. It's the year 2034, 10 years out. Where do you see yourselves in 10 years? Where do you see this whole industry in 10 years? Are you guys going to be dominating, or?
Well, I think, again, I like a friend of mine had once said, the definition of a billionaire in the new world is somebody who's positively impacted the lives of 1 billion people.
Mm.
So I think for us, that's kind of the almost like the number one metric that's driving us is, how do we, we actually, it was funny. We first started the company in 18. We would talk about like, let's create 1 billion millionaires. Which is kind of crazy, I know, but it was like, that was like the mantra, was this idea
That's
of like,
still a great thing to shoot for. Why not, right?
well, and whether or not they actually do, here's the thing: is like you can live like a millionaire without having $1 million. The whole thing is like
Absolutely.
if we can elevate humans, I think the core philosophy and passion and value is still there. If we can help to elevate humans off the bottom of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid, where they can all of a sudden ascend from just worrying about like, do I have food to eat, do I have security, do I have money, to like, I'm gonna actually like, what am I here to do as a human being? What am I
Yeah.
here to bring to the planet? Like, if you ask me, like, what's the most important thing 10 years from now? If we built systems that are able to empower humanity and help play some meaningful role in this evolutionary leap, which we not only feel is possible, we feel is necessary. Like,
Mm.
we think that if humans don't make this evolutionary leap, what happens at some point in time, we actually hit a tipping point. And I'm hoping we haven't hit it yet. I don't believe we have. Like I said, I operate from the place that we actually are going to do this. It's already done. Humanity's going to turn it around, and we're gonna fight
Oh
our
yeah.
way through all the problems we've created. But 10 years from now, hopefully we're sitting there, and to whatever maximum degree possible, we're like, you know what, the work that we did at Rainmaker, or that we're doing at Rainmaker, and the technology that we built, and the network and the products, they've empowered humanity in a meaningful way, to help be a part of that evolutionary leap. That's the
Yeah.
most important thing. Everything else to me is, we'll make money, we'll lose money, we'll have our successes. I'm confident in that, and we already have, to some large degree. But again, like, and of course, do we want to, by achieving that, do we also want to reap the rewards of it? Of course we do. I mean, every founder, wants that, as they've sacrificed, everything that I've sacrificed and that we sacrificed to build,
Yeah.
to build these robots, so to speak, right? Um, but yeah, that's my hope for us 10 years from now.
Well, you see, this is one of the things I love about this is that when you originally think about sort of like the promise of the internet, right? It's connecting every person to every other person and allowing that communication to occur. And I thought, if we ever got to the point where we could allow every person to communicate with every other person directly without intermediaries, that will solve so many problems, because it's a lot of lack of communication, right? And part of what you're doing is you're basically making those connections, right? You're allowing these people to come on board, and not only that, sort of quantifying the value of their contributions, unlike what happens when I'm surfing, when I'm on Facebook, and I post pictures on Facebook. They're using my data and I'm not getting anything out of it other than sort of the connectivity with other people. At least here there's actually some value that's being transferred back to the original creator, and I think that that's amazing.
Yeah, no, you and I are in full alignment. I think when that can be automated with code and systems that scale in a decentralized manner, anything can happen.
Yeah, no, this is the future of the internet. You got it, man. You guys you guys have figured it out. I love it.
Well, us and I think in a whole movement of folks that are working hard to build this new world, right? I
Mm,
always look at it like, I talk to people a lot. I'm like, look, the old world is like, it's like almost like convulsing and dying, right?
yeah,
And if you're focused there, you basically think it's doom and gloom, and we're all screwed.
it's holding on
If
for dear life, though.
Yeah, no, it is. But again, it doesn't have to be. This isn't like a bloody revolution. The whole point is like, we're already out there, like actually building, like we're building the new world. It's already happening. It's not like
Hmm.
if it's going to happen. Those that are aware and awake know it's happening, and they're like, oh wait, like let's just move over this direction. Now you're like, okay, over here, there's infinite opportunity and abundance that's possible if humans actually go there, and we align correctly. But and it's not
Yeah,
like it's going to be easy. It's not all like sunshine and roses. Like the nature of human existence, that suffering is a necessary ingredient for growth and for many other things. But our hope is that we empower, again, humanity through the systems and the products that we
yeah.
help to bring to the
And you
world.
provide the better way, and they'll eventually go to the better way. So they'll see it.
Yep.
It's great. Awesome. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
So the best way to get in touch with me, I guess they could hit me up on X, or they can reach out. I'm obviously on LinkedIn and Instagram as well. But the company, Rainmaker, has a Rainmaker app on X, and actually we might switch it to Rainmaker Network. I don't know. We're on X. we're on Instagram, we're on Discord, we're on Telegram. Although who knows what's going to happen on Telegram? But as far as we know,
Exactly.
we have a community that's very live and active on both Discord and Telegram. And then I think again, check out the website at rainmaker.com. Rainmaker with two eyes.
With two eyes.
I think your users will see. They'll get a sense of the company. Where we're going, the vision, and there's products they can use right now. There's the app they can download on iOS or Android, and then there's at coin.ai, which they'll be able to access through rainmaker.com. That's where the actual network itself, people are running validator nodes. Anyone essentially on the planet can run a validator node on their mobile desktop or laptop device. I kind of gloss that over, but even on the Rainmaker app, users are running DPIN enabled validator nodes right now, which already in and of itself is pretty revolutionary.
Fantastic. That's very cool. That's very cool. So I'll put all the links in the show notes so that people can go direct. So thank you so much. This has been great.
Yes,
really
thanks,
cool
Chris.
stuff. I'm going to go download it right now.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Talk to you later. Bye.
Pixels and philosophies merge and mold, a future untold, unseen.